All right, to begin with, we're doing results. This was a quiz we took in class, and we're grading it now. Here's how you should have done these 5 problems. These are kind of review, so I'm hoping these are easy for you. So what's the square root of 4x squared? 2x and 2x. So 2x and 2x go there. And then I need to have the square root of 81. That's 9 and 9. And then what goes in between? Plus and minus. Final answer, 2x plus 9, 2x minus 9. Okay, do you have a question? Okay, so 4x minus 9, x plus 9, is that what you think it might be? All right, then let's see what happens when I actually multiply this out. When I multiply that out, I'll have 4, and then I'll have x squared minus 81. Is that the same thing as what I have? No, so that does not work. Thank you for asking. Yes? Okay, I can show you that that won't work either. If you want to put 4x on the inside, you'll have 4x and x, and then what else did they do? Okay. Plus 9 and minus 9. Now watch. The beauty of these is that you can tell if you're right. All you got to do is multiply it out. And if you multiply this out, yeah, the 4x squared will be good. Outside and inside is where it's at, though. 9 times 4 is 36. That's negative 36 and positive 9. And that makes a middle term. And there is no middle term here. So your way does not work. Okay, just use that as a learning, because right now this is only a few points in the homework, means almost nothing in the big picture. The big test we have, that's where it counts. That's where it really matters. So just learn it for the test, and then you'll be all right. Okay, any other questions on number 1? Okay, moving on to number 2. It was like this. Your first thought should have been divide and conquer. And if you could find something that goes into everything, all of these, you don't have to divide and conquer, but there's nothing that goes into all of those. And so therefore, I have to divide and conquer. So I'm going to do, just ignore this part for now, and we'll do this part. What goes into x, 2x squared, and then I have x plus 4 left. Now I need to look at what's underneath the scribble and say, okay, that part, negative 3 comes out. And then I have x plus 4. Again, multiply it out again if you want to make sure you're doing it right. Okay, now, what goes into this and this? X plus 4. And then what's left? That and that. 2x squared minus 3. And there it is. Now, if I want to be positive I was right, just multiply it out. Watch. 2x times x, or sorry, 2x squared times x, 2x cubed. Outside, negative 3x, it's right there. Inside, positive 8x squared, it's right there. And then the last, negative 12, it's right there. So that is the right answer. Yes. They didn't get the final answer. If they got the first line of the work, give them half. Yes. Yep. Okay, so they had the first step completely right. They just didn't go to the next step, so we'll give them half the credit. All right, moving on. This one, first thought is, it's just 3 terms. You need 2 parentheses. It's got to be one of those. So you just got to battle this one out. You think, how can I make a 21x squared? 21x and x could possibly work, but then you try it, and the outside and the inside will never end up making negative 11. So that can't work. What's another way to make 21? 7x and 3x. That makes 21x squared. Then I figure out, how can I make a 2? Well, it's got to be a 2 and a 1. 2 and a 1. Now, where the 2 and the 1 are, I don't know. And then one of them has to be negative, because this is negative. So one of them has to be negative. I'm going to try making that one negative and this one positive. Now watch what I can learn from this. It's not all guess and check. Do it smart. Outside here, inside there, that's going to be negative 7x and positive 6x makes negative 1x. If that had been the exact opposite of what I wanted, I would just switch the signs. But negative 1x is what I got, and I wanted negative 11x. That's totally different, so I have to switch the numbers around, not just the signs. The number, then a 1 goes here, and a 2 goes there. And then I do the outside and the inside, and it actually works. All right, so there we go. There's your answer. Questions on that one? Yes, sir. Not random, but guessing. Guess and then check. Guess and then check. And it's not random because remember how I had it? I knew it had to be a 2 and a 1. That's the only choices. Right? So that wasn't really random. But where the 2 and the 1 go, that took guessing and checking. Try it. Does it work right? It's exact opposite of what you want. Change the signs. But it wasn't the exact opposite. It was like totally wrong. So you gotta switch the numbers around. Yes. Nope. Let me show you. -1 and +2. I know it's not your paper, but I'll just show the person involved. Get that that's +14 and that's -3. +14 and -3 make +11. Exact opposite of what you wanted. So they needed a plus here and a minus there. But that's their only mistake. I'll give them half credit for it. All right, moving on. Number 4. Once again, 3 terms, 2 parentheses. Automatic. Don't try to divide and conquer because you can't. That only works on 4-term things. Don't try to do rational root or anything crazy like that. Those are for the big ones. Not rational. Sorry, that one it's synthetic. I'll show you rational root later. Okay, so I'm going x squared and x squared. Could it work to put x to the 4th in one of the spots? Theoretically, yes. But I try it and it doesn't work. How do I know it doesn't work? Because you check the first, outside, inside, last. It doesn't multiply out. Okay, so next is a 4. It's probably a 2 and a 2. But if it isn't, I'll know soon. I'm going to go minus and a plus. Outside, inside. Wait a minute. That would make them cancel, and there'd be no middle term. So it obviously can't be 2 and 2. So now I switch to 4 and 1. So it's not just total random guess and check. And now I know that it has to be negative in the middle, so the bigger one needs to be negative. There. If you hadn't figured that out, you just try it, and then it'd be the opposite of what you wanted, and you'd switch the sign. Outside, inside, makes a total of -3x. Yes, I've got it right there. But if your kid left it that way, they lose back. Who in here noticed? Ah, you noticed. Tell me. That is correct. So this is worth half credit. Whole credit is if you caught that x plus 2, x minus 2. That is going to happen a lot when we test you. You'll get it done and you won't be factored all the way. Look and see as you either part. That part would factor. Why wouldn't this part factor? Because that would give you imaginary answers. Because you can't make this be -1. So anytime it's a minus, it can factor. Anytime it's a plus, it can't factor unless you use imaginaries. All right. Now to finish, if this is it, this is the answer right here. And I'm just curious, how many of you actually had it? Anybody have that right on their paper? Did you have it? Do you have it right? Okay. Good job. Only one person. Okay. Moving on. Was this one a root or not? It is not. So you check it by going like this. 2 goes in then there, and you go 5, 15, -8, -28, -12. Draw the line, drop it like it's hot. 5 times 4 is, or 5 times 2 is 10. Add them, 25. The bottom line is it ends up being way too big at the end. Doesn't work. Okay. So this one's no. Give him a score out of 5. Give back to the owner. Question? Yes? What work did they do? You know what? I'm going to give it to them anyway. They knew what to do. At least they were doing synthetic. At minimum a half a point. You can talk to me later about your personal thing. Okay. Who has scored currently a 5 out of 5? They made it perfect. Nice. How about 4.5 out of 5? Nice. How about 4 out of 5? How about 3.5 out of 5? All right. If you had worse than that, then you have some work to do, because that's the old stuff. That's what you're already supposed to know. Now, if you get a moment right now, look over your mistakes, please. I want you to understand what you did wrong last time so you don't do that again. Are there any of these you'd like me to clarify for you? Like, why can't I do this? Or how would I do this right? For many of you, you already know what your mistakes were, but there might be some that are still like, I still don't get number 4. Ask me, explain it to you. It doesn't just help you, it helps other kids. Sure, number 4 looks like this. A lot of people just forgot to do that last little expand out. This. Any other questions about 4 or any other problem? Yes, ma'am. Half wrong, yes. Unless it's a multiple choice question, in which case this is wrong. So there are some multiple choice in the test. It's not all multiple choice. Next Thursday. So we've got about okay. I guess seems like you guys may have more questions. I don't want to bore you with standing here waiting for questions to happen. So here are some problems that I want to do for today. Would you please get to a remarks page. You do not have to write the original problems down. What? You're going to need that score. Can you just, I don't even know this, but I assume you can just set it to the side, can't you? And then make a new page. Okay. Level 1 questions. We just did a bunch of them just now. These are all factorable. This one's that special difference of squares kind where it's only got 2 terms. You still need 2 parentheses to do it. All right. I would like you to do all 3 of these quickly. Just factor them quick. We'll check in a second and see if we can do them right. Yes? What about the sheet we just did? I need your score. I need your, do you know your score? You know your score? Then don't keep talking. Okay. Do these 3 questions. The only way you get good at factoring is by actually factoring. So you gotta work it through. X and X. What are my options for 20? 4 and 5 or 20 and 1? And which one of them has a difference of 1? 4 and 5, so it's got to be 4 and 5. And then which one's got to be negative? The one that's if it's coming out negative, the bigger one must be negative. The bigger one negative. See how logically you can figure that out? And now don't just trust, I haven't checked it yet. I don't know I'm right yet. So let's find out. X squared. Outside -5, inside +4 makes negative x, and the last makes -20. Now I know I'm right. Okay, who's got this next one owned? You are positive you got it right. Yes, sir. Yes. 2x plus 7, 2x minus 7. Square root of that, square root of that. 1 plus, 1 minus. Easy? All right. Next one, a little harder because it's got a negative in there in front. What are you going to do? Take out -2. And then what do you have left? X squared plus 10x plus 21. And then it factors again. You know what? Dump. X, oh, wait a minute. I got a -2 out there, so you mean -2 parentheses, x plus 3, x plus 7. I'm going to check it quick. Outside, inside makes 10x, and the lasts make 21. Yep. Here we go. X squared. Cool. All right. This is still level 1 kind of problems. I don't think we need to do any more of those. Let's jump up to level 2. These are those divide and conquer kind. I just got to learn to read that clock. Okay, hold on. I'm going to pause a second here. All right, I'm going to get that later. Right now I'm getting this. I've already been burned and that can't be burned again. So the divide and conquer way for this one would be to take out x squared, and what would I have left? X minus 3, and then take out a negative 6 or positive 6. Positive 6, and I'd hit x minus 3 again. These have to match. Okay, so then I got x minus 3 in front, and then I have x squared plus 6. That's it. It's factored. Now, what about on the test when they ask you to tell me what the roots are, or the zeros? This one's easy. What is it? 3. This one you set equal to 0 and you solve the little equation. Subtract 6 from both sides, x squared equals negative 6. How is that possible? Only with imaginary. Square root, x absolute value plus or minus so that the absolute value can come off. I root 6. All right. I'm going to move on. Level 3, that's this kind. You can't divide and conquer anymore for this kind. If you do an absolute value, there are always going to be two answers. One positive, one negative. You should put the absolute value in because that's the right process for solving it. But it's usually going to boil down to being a plus or minus. So I'm not really answering your question. I want you to show that square root sign, that absolute value sign. But if you just jump to the plus or minus, it usually will work. Okay, how do you do the kind you can't divide and conquer? That's that new thing. Let's see what that. But what if they don't tell you what could possibly be a root? You don't just go, well, I guess I could test 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or negative 5, or you don't want to just randomly guess. On this test, you'll be allowed to use a calculator. So how could you use that? You type it in y equals, and then what? You graph it, and you find the what? The zeros. That'll tell you what number would work. Now, will it tell you the whole thing? Will it actually factor for you? No. But it'll tell you what number could work. And then let's say you see that it touches at 3. Then you do synthetic to see if it works. So yes, you can use a calculator right now. And yes, you'll be able to use a calculator on the test. So let's type this puppy in right here. Let's put that into your calculator right now. See if I can get my calculator up here. Okay. Y equals x to the 4th minus 3x to the 3rd I'm going to insert a minus 3x squared minus 3x minus 4. Okay, x to the 4th minus 3x to the 3rd minus 3x squared minus 3x minus 4. All right, if I hit graph, I can see that it touches at 2 different spots. Well, how do you pick which one? You pick either one. Let's zoom in a little bit so we can see what those spots are. I want to teach you to use a really awesome zooming method. So everybody, do this with me on your graphing calculator. If you haven't got your graphing calculator out yet and typed it in yet, hurry up. You need to learn how to do what I'm about to show you. All right, we're going to do a zoom box. You type in the equation, hurry up, those of you that haven't done it yet, and I'm going to show you how to zoom box. You go to zoom, and then the box, the top one. And that doesn't just do anything by itself. But now it gets me in the zoom box mode. And now I'm moving a little dot here on my screen, and I'm preparing to make a box. I am hitting enter to show that's the corner of my box. Do this with me. And then I'm making a box by using the arrow keys. I'm boxing in the part that matters to me. See, this is the only part where the zeros are, also known as the x-intercepts. So that's the part I care about. So I'm going to hit enter. And I'm zooming in on that. Can you see it touches at -1? And can you see it touches at 4? All right, what does that mean? The cool thing is that -1 and 4 are both roots. That means this thing's going to factor not just once, it'll factor twice. But we can only do it one at a time. All right, so what do you want to pick, -1 or 4? I don't care. -1. All right. I heard more people say -1. I'm going to use -1. And it wouldn't matter which one you used first, but I'm going to use -1. Now I make my little synthetic thing. This does not get us out of doing synthetic, but it at least gets us a lot closer, faster, because we don't have to guess and check numbers. By the way, there is a way you could do that called the rational root theorem, but all it really tells you is that the factors of this and the factors of the first number, which is just a 1, are the things that could work. So that wouldn't help much. I would know that 4 and 3, no, 4 and 2 and 1 and -4 and -2 and -1 were my choices. I can get it narrowed down to 6 things that way, but it's still way smarter to just graph it. Okay, so the rational root theorem is, you may see it noted in the title of this worksheet and stuff. It's not that great. It just narrows it down to like 6 to 8 things that could be the roots, and you have to test all of them. So you graph it, and it'll tell you what to test. I know -1's going to work. 1, -3, -3, -3, -4. There's no skip terms. I'm going to check that. 4, 3, 2, 1, and the 0. There was everything here was represented, so I don't need to hold any places. Did you have a question? Okay, raise your hand if you have a question. Drop this down 1. 1 times -1, -1. Add them, -4. Multiply 4. Add them, 1. Multiply them, -1. Add them, -4. Multiply them, +4. And the final answer comes out to be 0. Yay. Now, that does not give me the answer, though. That just tells me that it worked. And here's the answer. This part drops down and becomes x plus 1. This part here is the other part of your answer. And remember, you go way to the right, that's a constant, that's the x's, that's the x squareds, that's the x cubes. And now we factored it. But remember how I said it was going to factor twice? A lot of kids are going to not listen to that, and they're just going to say, oh, here's my answer. And you won't get the credit. If it's multiple choice, you'll just get it wrong. If it's regular kind of problem, I could give you half credit for getting this far. But what was the other number that worked? Remember on the graph? What was the other number besides? Yeah, we had 4 supposed to work. What does that mean? That means I can set this part here. Just ignore this thing completely. I'm just moving this down. I can take this x plus 1 here and leave it alone, and then it's telling me that 4 is going to work in this one. Can't I just do synthetic again? And I'm going to go 4 goes into this one, and I'm going to do 1, -4, 1, -4, and then it'll drop, drop it, 1 to 4, add them, 0, 0, add them, 1, 4, 0, and then, what does this give me? X minus 4, and this, don't forget this, x plus 1 here, it comes down, x plus 1 and x minus 4, and then all of that. And yep, and this was the x's, this is the x squared, put in a plus, and plus 0x doesn't really do anything. Final answer, if I extend my page out here, I can say x plus 1 and x minus 4 and x squared plus 1. Real answer, 2 imaginaries. Whenever there's imaginaries, there's always 2 of them. Or 4 or 6, but they're always in sets of 2. All right, it's the hardest stuff that we get to. And the homework for today is a lot like that, so let's start that together. If you look on your homework or on your Schoology page, it's the one assigned 12-7, that would be today. And I'll scroll down here for you and show you the top of the worksheet. It's called 7.8 Worksheet B. called rational root theorem because, again, you can do that rational root and it narrows it down to like 6 things that could work. Way smarter, just graph it. See what thing for sure works. Instead of having to test synthetic on a ton of things. It's way easier than last year. Any kids that are listening from last year, I apologize. I should have done it this way. Because this was way, way better than taking the rational root and having to test 8 things. This test took forever last year because kids had to test like 8 different things on each problem. And then if you mess up one of those, then you think nothing works, and then you have to test them all again. For you guys, we'll just graph it. For this, though, I wouldn't even graph it. What would you do? For this first problem that you're going to do, which is problem number 2, have you got it up on your screen yet? Okay, if you don't have it yet, find it quickly. It's the one assigned on 12-7. It's called Ration or Worksheet 7.8b. We're doing problem 2, the first one. So if you can do it by this method, divide and conquer, then do it. It works really nice. You don't have to graph anything. You don't have to type anything in the calculator. So I'm going to go x squared comes out. I got x plus 1. 2 comes out. I got x plus 1. And then I can factor those out to the front. X plus 1. X squared plus 2. There, I factored it. What was the thing that worked then? Solution that works. -1. Right there, see? -1. And what is the factored form? That's this. It'll be fine with me if you just draw an arrow to it. The real solution. It's the same as the solution that worked. What is it? -1. And then the imaginary is this. I want to show you a shortcut for doing this that I think you're going to like. You know how I told you that you couldn't factor that kind that has a plus in it? You can if you use imaginaries. See, if you catch on to this, awesome. If you don't catch on, just do this. X squared plus 2 equals 0 and solve it. Okay, it's going to take a few steps. Subtract 2 from both sides. X squared equals -2. Square root, all that stuff. But if you can hang with this, it's really faster. X and X and plus and minus. And that can't work unless you use imaginary numbers. And then it's I, because it's imaginary. And then at the end of that problem, you remember how you were going to have to square root both sides and you'd have to square root of 2? I root 2. So this factors into x plus I root 2 and x minus I root 2. So what are my answers? Plus and minus I root 2. That blew your mind. Your brain just exploded. Then just solve this the normal way. X squared plus 2 equals 0. X squared equals -2. X square root of x equals square root of -2. Absolute value of x equals I root 2. And then you need 2 answers. X equals plus and minus I root 2. It's the same answer. But if you get that little shortcut I just showed you, I'm going to show you one more time. So I had x squared plus 6. Can anybody factor that for me real quick? Go ahead. X and x. Plus and a minus. I on both. I got it. So my answers are positive I root 6 and negative I root 6. You get that? It's just like the difference of squares deal. It's x plus something and x minus something. And it only works with imaginaries. So you got i's. And then you just got to take the root of whatever's there. Yes? When you get to something that has 5 terms, you won't be able to divide and conquer anymore. You'll have to use the graph it, see where it touches. That's the thing you use to use synthetic on. Yes? It's actually sections B and D. So there is a section C kind of in the middle there, which you can skip. So it's sections B and D of the worksheet. So by starting on problem 2, you already skipped section A. Section B and D. Okay? That's all I got for you for today.